Hello, welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. Today we're going to look at the Mego, Son of Frankenstein action figure. A couple episodes ago I said I was going to combine Son of Frankenstein and the Wolfman in one episode, but I changed my mind because I had very different attitudes toward those two figures. Very positive for one, very negative for the other. So I wanted to keep them separate. So this figure is Son of Frankenstein figure. I have a very positive attitude towards this figure. So let's take a look at this. There he is, Boris Karloff in the Son of Frankenstein. And in a way, the title does kind of refer to the monster because Basil Rathbone plays the human son of the original Dr. Frankenstein. But as Igor says in the movie, the monster is his father. The monster's father was Dr. Frankenstein. So he and Rathbone are kind of like brothers. So the monster is also sort of the son of Frankenstein. Now this is the same Boris Karloff head that Mego's earlier Frankenstein figure used. And by earlier, I mean a few weeks ago. They released a 1931 Frankenstein figure from the first film using the same head. And that was just, 2 months ago? Maybe not even that, maybe 1 month ago, a few weeks ago. And hot on the heels of that one comes the Son of Frankenstein. Same head, same, as far as I know, same body and hands, and same big Kiss boots that were used on a Kiss figure, the platform boots. But the costume is different. He's got this costume from the third movie in the series, The Son of Frankenstein. Getting a lot of reflection. How about, it's better, I guess. Is there a way to get rid of this I hate this reflection. No, that's just going to pick up me. Well, I have to live with it. Now, I don't know if any of this costume is the same as the previous figure. I think it's all new. It looks like even the pants, maybe? Are the pants the same? I don't have the other one here to compare. I don't know if the pants are the same or not. These pants kind of have a slightly brown look to them. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure the sleeves, whatever shirt he's got on under that vest, those don't have anything in common with the costume from the previous figure. So it's probably an all-new costume, and except for the boots. The card has what appears to be stock art of a laboratory. Now, the previous figure had a still from the movie Frankenstein. So it had an actual still from the movie. This is a piece of stock art. This is not a still from the movie. Although it's very, it looks just like the kind of decor that was in the film. So it's a well-chosen piece of stock art. The back has the same image of Boris Karloff that Mego always uses, even on their unlicensed Frankenstein figures that were based more on Glenn Strange than any other version of Frankenstein. They still had this image of Karloff. And this is from Bride of Frankenstein. This image of Karloff with the scars on his cheek, that's from Bride of Frankenstein, not from Son of Frankenstein. So that's a nice card back. It would have been cool to have an actual image of from Son of Frankenstein. That might have been cool. Maybe, I don't know, that maybe it wasn't... The most iconic images of Boris from that movie tend to have Igor next to him. And so Igor is played by Bela Lugosi, so maybe there was an issue there. Or with Basil Rathbone. There's not a lot of, probably of the available stills that they could have used, there's probably not a lot that have just Karloff. Probably most of them have Igor or Dr. Frankenstein in the same shot. But anyway, it would have been a nice touch to have an image from Son of Frankenstein instead of Bride of Frankenstein on the back. This card is a little bent. Well. Okay, so he's really cool. I noticed it in the corner it says movies, whereas the previous Frankenstein said horror. But it's still Mego Monsters from the Mego Monsters series. Now, it's a little unusual to have Son of Frankenstein so quickly after the first Frankenstein. You would have thought they might have waited 6 months or a year before giving us a variant of the other figure. But I kind of understand that. I think they want to strike while the iron's hot and while they have the license, because it's been a volatile license. This Karloff, all these actor likenesses for Universal are kind of volatile, where 1 year you've got them and the next year you don't. So like Cheney Jr., they can't use him for anything, apparently. You just never know what's going to happen. Elsa Lanchester, apparently they can't use her. So who knows, if they waited a year, maybe they discovered that they can't use Karloff anymore. I don't know. So I kind of understand why they'd want to, since they got the Karloff Frankenstein license, they want to get it out there. Now they could have sculpted a different head, because that's the same head as the 1931 Frankenstein figure. But Karloff looks different in Son of Frankenstein. He looks different in Bride of Frankenstein. He looks different every time he plays the character. So it would have been a nice touch to sculpt a unique head just for this. But I understand that kind of defeated the purpose, that they're trying to get the most mileage they can out of this head sculpt. And so they've realized, hey, we can do 2 figures with this. I would hope they wouldn't try for a Bride of Frankenstein, because how would they differentiate that from using the same sculpt from 1931 Frankenstein? Just make the clothes more raggedy? Because they're not going to go in and put scars and charred hair and all that, those kind of details to make it Bride specific. If they use the same head sculpt, they can't do that. So I don't know what else they can do with this. Maybe make a glow-in-the-dark version. It's a different shade of green from the Bride. Their Bride of Frankenstein is green. So they could make a matched set where the Bride and the monster were the same color green. So that's one more use they could get out of the head. So I understand that they've got this cool head and they want to use it. And, I understand why they wouldn't resculpt it. It would have been nice, though. It would have been nice to have a unique sculpt. Now, here is, I think this is the only other costumed Son of Frankenstein figure. This is Sideshow from about 20 years ago. And so Sideshow did every different version of the Universal Frankenstein. They did 1931 Karloff, Bride Karloff, Son Karloff, Cheney Jr., Ghost of Frankenstein, Lugosi, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, and Glenn Strange, House of Frankenstein. So they did every different actor likeness of Frankenstein, every different version. And this is a unique sculpt just for the Son of Frankenstein. And in that movie, Karloff has a more full face. He's more gaunt in the previous 2 films. And that changes his look. That changes the look of the character. There's a little more detail in this costume than in the Mego. But it's still kind of a rudimentary, even for Sideshow, it's kind of a rudimentary costume. I don't know what else they could have done, but by Sideshow standards, it's a little simplistic, but, you know, the character calls for that. That's the kind of outfit he wore in the movie. It was a simplistic outfit. But you can see it's got a, well, without anything to compare it to, maybe you can't see, but he's got a fuller, fatter face. So that would have been interesting if they had made this figure a little fuller in the face to make it look more like Son of Frankenstein. But that's okay. Like I said, I understand why that would defeat the purpose of this figure even existing if they sculpted a new head. So it's kind of neat that we got basically a costume variant so soon. It's kind of surprising. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, why not? They got the license, get it out. I wish they'd do that with the Hammer figures. They got the license, get them out. Get them out before something goes wrong. See, the thing is, so I did a pretty long video about that Wolfman, which I didn't like. But I had a lot, because I didn't like it, I had a lot to say. This figure, because I like it, I don't have as much to say. It's a cool figure. I like it. It's hard to go on and on and on about it. How many times can you say you like it? I mean, I like the. It has a very dark gothic look. So did the other one, but there's something about the colors, and in this brighter light on this camera, it kind of loses some of that. Maybe you can see on this camera. I don't even know if every time I hold something up on this camera, it seems like the light reflects off of it and blots it out. But it looks very dark, and I like that. The dark gray sleeves, the kind of a brownish gray pants, and the dark brown vest. It's very dark, and then it's got the dark card art. It's all very dark, and I like that. It kind of has a gloomy sort of gothic look. It's a gloomy looking toy. Very gloomy. I like that. I like gloomy. And that's something the MC figures don't have. They do not look gloomy. The MC figures, the card art and the figures themselves, they look very bright, very slick. And I prefer a dark, dismal look, more like the Azrac Hamway figures, or the Lincolns, or something like that. Kind of dark and dreary and dismal and gloomy and glum and depressing. I like that gothic look. And this figure is very serious, very unhappy, very dark. I like that. He's not a superhero Frankenstein. He's a cursed monster, which is what he should be. All the Universal characters should look like they're cursed. They should look like they're doomed. I don't like happy Universal monsters. I like bright Universal monsters. I like dark, dismal, doomed Universal monsters. Because that's what those movies were like, at least the 1930s movies. And the 40s ones too. They're dark, gothic films. So I like dark, gothic depictions of those characters. My favorite Universal Monsters action figures will always be the Azrac Hamway versions, which have just the right balance of a fun look, but also creepy look at the same time. And now the Lincolns are not Universal monsters, but they also have that dark, creepy, kind of unwholesome look. They're just dark. Dark, creepy figures. And this Frankenstein is kind of dark and creepy. I like that. So the next figure in this line is going to be Imhotep. Boris Karloff is the mummy. Unfortunately, they can't do Karis because the Universal won't let anyone do Karis at all. They've been like that for years and years and years. But now they won't let anyone do Lon Chaney Jr. characters, so that's a double whammy. So they can't do Karis, they can't do Lon Chaney Jr. Even if Universal said, how about Tom Tyler? Tom Tyler originated the role of Karis. No, they can't do that. How about Clarice from Raymond Castile? Nah, I can't do that. Universal wants Imhotep, the Karloff mummy. And that's it. As far as Universal is concerned, that's the mummy. I don't know why. For a generation or more, Karis was the iconic mummy in merchandising through the 60s and 70s and 80s into the 90s. Karis was the mummy. Now the Remco mummy was Imhotep. That was different. Then Imperial and Placo both did basically a Clarice, Abbott and Costello mummy. Hasbro did both Imhotep, Karloff, and Chaney Jr. Karis. So towards the end of the 90s, we had a licensed Karis figure. And that was the last hurrah for Karis. I don't think we've had another one since then. I might be forgetting something, but I don't think we've had another one. But the Aurora model kit is Karis. Lon Chaney Jr. is Karis. The Azrak Hanway toys are all Karis. Most of the mummy stuff was Karis through the 60s and 70s, and still, even in the 80s and 90s, most of it was still Karis. So, I don't know why Universal has dropped Karis and insisted on Karloff Imhotep. It's unfortunate. So apparently this new mummy, it's the MC figure again. They released a picture of the head and said it was a new sculpt, but it's, by a miracle, the new sculpt looks exactly like the MC head. It's miraculous. And it has a plug like the MC on the bottom, like the MC heads, whereas these new Megos, I believe, have a female socket instead of that plug, I think. So I don't know, this new Mego mummy head they show in a photograph, it has a plug and it looks like the MC mummy. I don't know what's going on there. I just hope they don't reissue the MC costume. They probably will. I wish they wouldn't, because it's a bad costume. And the mummy they made from a couple years ago, this generic mummy that Mego made, has a pretty good costume. I mean, the head was, so-so, but the costume was pretty good. So it'd be nice if they would reuse, if nothing else, reuse that costume. Ideally, I would like to see bandages, a bandaged figure. We haven't had that in a long time. I've said that in a previous episode. I would love to see a bandaged mummy figure like the 70s. Azrak Hanway and Lincoln mummy figures, and like the Hasbro figures and the Sideshow figures, they're all bandaged. So I'd like to see a bandaged mummy instead of a costume that looks like bandages. I'd like to see an actual bandaged mummy for a change. That would be nice, and it would differentiate it from the MC. Will they do it? Probably not. Probably just put out the MC again. But I wish they would do something a little original and separate it from the MC and give it a bandage costume. Well, whatever they do, I just hope they don't use that MC costume, because that was weak. It hasn't aged well. I remember at the time, it seemed like kind of a new way to present the character, and it didn't seem so bad at the time, but it hasn't aged well. Looking back on it now, that MC mummy costume Yeah, it doesn't hold up very well. They're also going to make 14-inch monsters. They're going to make a Frankenstein and a Dracula and, surprisingly, a creature from the Black Lagoon. Now, I'm thinking the creature is probably going to be just like the 8-inch one, which was the reissue of the MC, blown up. But I don't know, maybe they'll surprise us and do something very different. I wonder if it's going to have the chest piece and the shoulders on the 14-inch one. I don't know. If it's just a jumpsuit with printed creature details, I mean, it's still neat to have a 14-inch creature, but that's, yeah, that wouldn't be the way I'd hope they would do it. I'd hope they put some extra detail of some kind on there. Not just a jumpsuit, but we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. It's very intriguing that they're going to do a 14-inch creature. I wouldn't have expected that. The Dracula and Frankenstein apparently is not going to be the same. They are not going to be the same as the prototypes that were shown 2 years ago, which were generic versions of Frankenstein Dracula. So hopefully we'll have a 14-inch Karloff Universal Frankenstein. I hope. That'd be great. Who knows what Dracula's going to be? I don't know if they have an arrangement. Well, they did a Lugosi 8-inch Dracula, but it wasn't universal. Maybe this 14-inch one doesn't have to be universal. They could do the same. They could do a Broadway Bela Lugosi Dracula 14 inches, and just, it doesn't have to be universal. It could be a standalone toy. All of these are really standalone figures. They don't have universal across the top. I know the creature had universal monsters on it. It's interesting, the other ones don't. Like, this doesn't say universal monsters on it anywhere. It says Mego monsters. That's the only thing that kind of links these toys together. But there's not a Universal Monsters logo across the top. Well, that's interesting. The creature had one behind the figure. Let's see if the Wolfman has... The Wolfman also does not have... This is the Wolfman. He does not... The only universal thing is this little logo on the back, at the bottom there. And well, this is interesting, because this has the Monsters logo on the back, but it's in this little small type down here, and the Universal logo. The Wolfman, all I see is the Universal. I don't see the Monsters one. No, I wonder why it's like that. I don't know. And why is the Wolfman horror and the Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, is movies, and the previous Frankenstein was horror? Okay, well, I think I've said enough about that. So, I like the Son of Frankenstein figure. I think it's cool. Yeah, basically it's a variant of the previous Frankenstein figure, but that's okay. It's not a remake of a 10-year-old figure. It's a different version of a figure that's also currently available. The other Frankenstein is also available right now. So you can choose, do you want the 31 Frankenstein or do you want Son of Frankenstein? And that's cool, or you want both. And it's uncommon to see the Son of Frankenstein outfit on a toy. Most toy makers don't do that. I don't know why. It's a cool look for Frankenstein, but you usually don't see that. So it's interesting that you've got that costume, and so soon after the more traditional looking Frankenstein. So what else we got here? I'm not going to review these right now, but on the Facebook page, we will be looking at the Teen Wolf and the Flocked Fly. So I will review these for the Facebook page. Not right away, you don't have to look for that review immediately, but in the days to come, I will review those for the Facebook page. So if you're not in the Basement of Horror Facebook group, you should join. So make sure that you subscribe to this channel. We're closing in on 2,000 members, 2,000 subscribers. And I think we're at 1,970. So 30 more subscribers, and we'll have 2,000. The Facebook group, I think we're at like 160, 170 members, something like that. So it's still a small group on Facebook, but hopefully that will grow. And while we have our post-season hiatus, I will upload content to the Facebook group, like my thoughts on those two figures I just showed you. Oh, and I should say, the Teen Wolf and the Flocked Fly, I bought those from Movie Posters, etc. On the recommendation of the MIB Master Toy Museum channel. Johnny Shedrick has been talking about Movie Posters, etc. for the last few weeks and how great they are. So I ordered those two figures from Movie Posters, etc. And I want to say that they practically teleported those toys into my hand. I mean, it was like, it felt like I ordered them online and then, woo, there they were. I mean, they were there like that. I don't know. I don't think 48 hours passed before I had the toys. I didn't pay overnight shipping or anything like that. I just paid a very reasonable standard shipping rate. And they arrived very nicely packed in double layers of bubble wrap. Fine condition, no issues. And that's not always been the case with other retailers that I've ordered contemporary figures from. Often the boxes come mangled and there's not a lot of packing to protect the toy inside, and it's kind of a miracle if the toy isn't damaged. Like I ordered these figures from a different retailer, and this Wolfman is a little bend on the edge of the card, and the Son of Frankenstein is a little bend right here. There's nothing like that on these Movie Posters, etc. toys. That no damage at all. And other retailers that I've used for these new Megos, it takes weeks for me to get them. I order them, and then maybe a month or 2 months later, I get the toy. I mean, they're not saying that the toys are listed as in stock, and I order them, and it takes that long. I'm saying that it's a pre-order, and it takes that long to get them. But with Movie Posters, it seems like, while other people still taking pre-orders, they've got the toys. It just maybe it just seems that way. Maybe it's just imagination, but it seems like they have these things sooner than other people, and they get them out faster than other retailers, other mail order retailers. It seems that way. So I just wanted to convey that, add my name to the list of customers that notice that Movie Posters, etc., seems to have their act together, and they're doing something different than the other suppliers of these toys. For some reason, they're able to get them out much faster. They seem to be available in stock sooner, and they go out the door. As soon as you order, they're gone, and they're in your hand. And they're well packed, protected. So I'm going to, not paid by them, just my observation, want to plug. Now, if everyone starts ordering from them, maybe their service will change. Maybe it's because they're small and everyone's not ordering from them. Maybe that's why they're able to do that. So maybe if they get too big, yeah, maybe the service will change. I hope not. But I was happy with the service from them, and I'm probably going to order like the 14-inch figures and the Hammer, Van Helsing, and Reptile. I'll probably order it from movie posters, etc. And have them, I hope, much sooner than I would if I'd ordered them somewhere else. So there's a little review for movie posters, etc. Okay. I think I've said everything I want to say. Thumbs up, 2 thumbs up on Son of Frankenstein. Wolfman, you can see the other video about the Wolfman. But Son of Frankenstein, it's a win. Both the Frankensteins I like a lot. And Bride of Frankenstein I liked, even though that was a remake of VMC. They made her green, she looked different. Okay, I appreciated that. So we'll see what the future brings. I'm excited about the 14-inch figures, and I'm excited about the Van Helsing. Hopefully he won't have Baron Frankenstein sideburns. The prototype they showed of the Peter Cushing head was a Baron Frankenstein likeness with the sideburns, and they said this is going to be Van Helsing. Van Helsing doesn't have sideburns, but they said they were going to fix that, so we'll see. As long as they fix that, I think it'll be fantastic, because it was a great likeness, and the reptile head is a great reptile head sculpt. So I'm looking forward to both those Hammer figures, and crossing my fingers that they can get more Hammer toys out there. Apparently, the Oliver Reed werewolf is a problem. I don't know. That's kind of a major Hammer character, so it's not a problem for Trick or Treat Studios and their licensed mask, so I don't know what the problem is. But I hope they solve the problem and get that character out in the 8-inch format. Okay. Well, I'm getting a little slap happy. I shot these episodes back to back, so I'm a little tired. Time to go. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you one more time, and then we'll be off for a while. Remember, the one who dies with the most toys is dead.